Should be on.
I see Campbell, Stephen. I don't see David. Is that right? Okay,
I think we're
wait a
seeing
little longer.
both the Davids still.
Right. Leslie coming.
Yes, she will be
Yeah.
joining us. She just texted me. She's running a few minutes late.
Okay, Catherine.
I'm here.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, how are you, Judith?
Okay. So 2 Daves and Leslie. You think we should start?
Yes.
Okay. I call this meeting of the Nantucket Planning Board to order October 25th, 2021. We're still operating under the governor's order allowing remote participation for Zoom webinars. So that's the way the board will operate as panelists. And for anyone here who's going to speak, you raise your hand, the little logo hand, and we'll move you over so you can speak. You should know, however, that we won't be calling on anybody who's here to observe or speak until we get to public hearings, because the first portion of the meeting is limited to decisions by the board itself. And I also just wanted to say ahead of time, I'll say again, but some of you may be here for the Brotherhood of Thieves matter, which I know is somewhat controversial. It's likely I'll have to ask the board to vote on this, but it's likely we won't close that hearing tonight. We'll continue it into the next month. So if you were here to raise concerns about procedural matters, about the Brotherhood or something like that, there's no need to worry about that because we've already taken care of it. You can speak tonight if you're here on that matter, but if you know of others who didn't get adequate notice for some reason, they can come back and speak next time. Okay, I think it's time to seek approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second,
Nat moved, John seconded. We'll do by roll call. Nat,
Lowell, aye.
John,
aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith. And just for the record, to call attendance to be sure we all knew who's here at the start. I went over that a minute ago, but it's Nat, John, Fritz, me, who are regular board members, Stephen and Campbell, who are alternates, Megan, who is staff, Catherine, who is staff, and we'll have one more planning board member come in and one more lead staff, if not more than one, come in for anybody with questions. Next thing is the minutes for June 14th and September 13th. Are there any questions about those?
Make a motion to approve June 14, 2021 and September 13, 2021 minutes.
Second.
Second.
That was John and Fritz.
That was Fritz. Yep.
Okay.
Second for Fritz.
Thank you. Roll call, John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Nat, and Judith.
Aye.
Aye, so that's unanimous approval. Next is secondary dwellings. I think you have the list there. Does anybody need to recuse from any? Okay, we'll take them all.
Make a motion, Judith, to approve, actually, We have one garage apartment as well.
Right.
Unless somebody wants to recuse. I would make a motion to approve all the secondary dwellings and the garage apartments with the finding and conditions as written by staff.
Second.
that was Nat. Uh,
Yep.
roll call, John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith. Next is A and Rs. It means approval not required legally for anybody who's not familiar with that term.
Again,
Any
Judith,
recusals on any of those?
with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve all the approval not required. That's it.
Thank you.
Second.
John moves, Nat seconds, roll call, John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith, I. Previous plans. Any recusals? Do your thing, John.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
With this, there was one, I used to own the property about 10 years ago. It's the first one, washed ashore, 16 and 14 Obadiah. I'm not sure if that means anything.
I don't think so.
Okay. And I'm happy to stay on.
Okay, you want to make the motion?
Well, is
Minor
there
mod.
anyone for representation for Rick Bodett to speak
Yep.
about it?
Here.
Nobody needs to speak. It's not a
Right.
hearing. So unless there's questions from the board, we can just act on this with the motion collectively.
I'll make the motion that this proposal does not materially affect the findings and conclusions upon which the original decision and subsequent modifications are based. Does not require a public hearing. And that it's a, minor mod.
So that's
That's-
washed ashore,
Correct.
1905 and 2015. Is there
Yeah.
further discussion? Ready to vote?
I guess we need a second.
Yes.
I'll
Second.
second. Or Fritz will
Fritz
second.
seconded. Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Judith, I. Number 62-19, Mid-Island Service
I have to
Limited.
recuse on this one, Judith.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else needing to recuse? Megan, we can do this with 3 votes without tapping an alternate, right?
Yep, that's correct. But Dave Iverson did just hop on, so you do
Oh.
have 4 people that vote.
Okay. Hi, Dave.
Sorry about that.
No problem. We're under previous plans. Mid-Island Service Limited Partnership, 41 and 43 Sparks Avenue.
Okay,
Nice hat.
thank you.
Are you prepared to vote on this?
Has a motion been made?
Yes.
Not yet. No, not for this
No.
one. I'll make a motion to endorse 62-19 Mid-Island Service Limited Partnerships, 41 and 43 Sparks Ave.
I'll second that.
Okay, John moved, Fritz seconded. Roll call, John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Nat.
Not on this one, Judith.
Oh, that's right. Dave
Aye.
and Judith. Okay, that's approved. Muller, Nantucket Associates, North Mill Street, Birdsong Lane subdivision. Any recusals?
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, to endorse the legal documents and Also the Form J for the buildable lot, lot 36, and the roadway, lot 34.
I'll second.
Second. Fritz got that, Judith.
Okay. John moved, Fritz seconded, roll call. John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Judith, I. Oliver's Way subdivision 52 Burnell Street. Anybody need to recuse on that?
Make a motion, Madam Chair, for endorsement of the definitive plans.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
Second that motion.
Okay, John moves, Fritz seconds. Roll call, John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Judith, I. Nantucket Preserve, minor modification. Any recusals?
Just want to thank staff for the work on this. This was
Yes,
mixing old and new, I guess. Cleaning this up. So I'll make a motion to, I guess would be to approve the condition 9. Megan, is that correct? Or how do we say what we're actually doing?
It's an alteration of the condition, just to strike the language stating and at the intersection of Millbrook Road and the Proprietors Road.
Right.
The rest of the condition needs to stay as it was written.
Okay. So that's my motion.
And also the finding.
The finding does not materially affect the original decision. Subsequent modifications were based on, does not require a public hearing.
I'll second Nat's motion.
thank you. Nat moved, John seconded, roll call. Nat,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Okay, now we're into the segment for public hearings. For those observing or wanting to speak, the board gets a presentation, gets to ask questions, then I will open the public hearing and you'll have a chance to use your little logo hand to indicate if you want to speak. After that, we'll either close the public hearing or continue until the next meeting if we feel that there's need for additional information. Okay, PSP 2020-10-89 and 90, 10 Cliff Road, 10A and B, request continued. Any news on this?
Chair, Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes,
So this is a request to continue. It's been continued several times. And I recall that on the prior occasions, abutters, some of the, but I think a couple of the neighbors were concerned about noise and we had listened to some of that. I guess my question is, what is our policy on requiring re-advertising in case of continuance? And the only reason I ask it is it may very well be that some or all of the people who were abutters who were attended and had thoughts, maybe seasonal residents and not here as this goes into the fall and the winter. And I would just want to make sure that they would know that this is going to be on the agenda for a meeting. So if you could just explain whether I have any concerns in that regard.
Megan?
It will absolutely be re-advertised prior to it being discussed in the public hearing being reopened at a future meeting date.
Thank you.
Yep.
Megan,
So for that reason, I would say too, it's missed the advertising deadline for November. So the soonest it would be eligible for the public hearing to take place on this would be December. But I'd have to touch base with Sarah offline about that. So there's no possible way for it to be opened up in November. But at this point, I'm not sure when they're going to be pursuing it anytime post-November, or if they'll be withdrawing. But it will need to be re-advertised in order for the board to discuss it further.
Thank you.
Megan, is it possible to take it off the agenda till they start over? It seems silly to have it the first thing every time and it always be continuance. When it's not going to be continued, it's going to start again.
I would,
I
Madam
think
Chair.
as a matter of procedure, it needs to remain on, either one, remain on the agenda and continue to be continued. A decision needs to be made, or it needs to be withdrawn.
Well, I don't think we can make a decision because we'd have to take more information. So I guess we're stuck with it. But frankly, I'm with Fritz, and it's kind of annoying to take our time every time to hear the same story. But anyway, vote to continue. This
Through you,
matter.
Madam Chair, I have a question for Meg.
Yes.
I did notice, and maybe we're discussing this by way of the conversation, but the action deadline was 10/13. I know we had an alternate meeting planned this particular month, so I don't know if we have to do something with that action deadline.
No, it looks like I just didn't update it on the staff report. It's been extended through the end of December.
Great, thank you.
I saw Campbell's hand.
Oh,
It's
thank
the
you.
hearing,
I was-
so let me just say, can I open the hearing when it's continued? No, sorry, Campbell. So, no more public hearing, the matter's suspended, basically. Is there a motion to take up?
Motion to continue, I believe, Meg, until the December meeting. I'm not sure of that date.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
That was Dave.
Yes.
Okay, roll call. John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Judith, I. Thank you, Megan. Next item, Nantucket Island Resorts, 96 Old South Road.
We have Rick Badette here to present this application.
Do you want to say anything before he speaks?
Nope, but I am here to, that I can answer any questions that you guys may have.
Thank you.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Hi, Rick.
Hi, thank you. Members of the board, thanks for having me. My name is Rick Bodette, and I represent the applicant Nantucket Island Resorts. We're here tonight seeking a special permit to create neighborhood employee housing on this property. The property is 96 Old South Road. It's located in the RC2 and CTEC zoning district. It's a split zone. The applicant is the property is exists as there are two houses on the lot, a main house and another dwelling, and it's a 1 acre lot in this zone. And the applicant is seeking to rent this property from the owner, renovate the main house on the property, which is all they're renting. They are not renting the smaller cottage, as we'll discuss later, I'm sure. And renovate it to add bedrooms for up to 18 of their employees. Nantucket Island Resorts, like many other island businesses this summer, had a difficult time housing their employees, attracting employees, and keeping the employees that they've had. And so renting this property, and among other things they're entertaining, is going to be a good step in the right direction to retaining employees and helping with housing them. We're also seeking, you'll notice in your application, to the extent necessary, a waiver of the single driveway access requirement. There are two driveways there. They've existed at least nearly 20 years now, as I can see from the aerial. I say to the extent necessary because one of the driveways is off of Pinecrest, an actual road. The other driveway, the main driveway that services the house that my clients wish to rent, is off of an easement that's off of Old South Road. I don't think it's a road, but to the extent you guys think it is and needs a special permit for a waiver, we're asking for one. So we did submit a housing management plan that you have in your packet, I believe, which is consistent with ones that have been approved in the past. I did see the staff report and spoke with staff briefly on Friday about their recommendations, and specifically the limitation of 8 persons on the lot. I think it's the staff's interpretation that the property as a whole is limited to 18 people as occupants total. In other words, if we were to house 18 employees in the main house, then there wouldn't be any room left for the owner to use the existing cottage. When we applied for the application, now looking at it again, that is not our interpretation. Never has been my interpretation of the bylaw. But admittedly, the only times I have applied for such a special permit, my clients have controlled the entire property. So I don't think I have specifically ever addressed this. I don't know if the planning board has, but nonetheless, I would like to ask the board to allow us to have 18 employees in the main house, and also allow the owner to maintain that existing cottage as they do now, which is to say that they use it only for themselves and family members. Occasionally a family member will stay there. Occasionally one of the owners will stay there. I did want to point out in connection with that, as I mentioned previously, it is a 1 acre lot. So there's certainly enough room for 18 employees of ours and a small cottage. And, that's 4 times the size of the existing zoning on this lot. I also wanted to point out, which is obviously not before you yet, that the owners also own the abutting lot and have expressed interest and have included in our lease that they've proposed to us their ability to subdivide this in the lot next door to create these houses on different lots, which of course will make this issue moot for us. In addition, Nantucket Island Resorts needs every bed they can get for employee housing, and it's very important to them to have the 18 people living here. And so with that, again, I think it's a bit of a unique circumstance in that regard on the limitation of 18. There are 2 existing dwellings on the property. And I can answer any questions you have. We're really excited to bring this forward to you. I can tell you that they've had me looking at half a dozen properties all summer because they're in near crisis mode on employee housing. And so they're excited to do this. And I might want to point out as well that they're trying to do the right thing as well. I mean, we all know there's more often than not, all the employee housing on Nantucket is not permitted. The way we're proposing. So they're excited about it, and we hope you'll approve it. Happy to answer any questions. I may also add that Arthur Reed represents the owner of the property, and happy to have him here with us. And especially with his experience, he can point out all the mistakes I've just made. So,
Megan,
if I may, Madam Chair, I don't think Rick has made a single mistake, which is the level of legal standard that I would expect from him. In any event, obviously my clients support this application and agree with everything that Rick has said. I don't read the bylaw as limiting the number of persons that can reside on a lot, but rather the number of persons that can reside in the neighborhood employee housing, the employer dormitory, if you will, on the lot as being limited to 18. It says that they can be housed in no more than 2 dwellings with a maximum number of 18. In this case, they'll all be housed in one dwelling, and there would be 18 of them. And I don't think that if there's another dwelling on the lot that's not used for neighborhood employee housing, that the bylaw would require that those persons be credited toward the maximum number of 18. So I would, again, reinforce what Rick has said and hope that you will indeed allow the application for the dormitory in the one specific dwelling with the level of 18 employees. Thanks.
Thank you, Arthur. Megan, would you explain your thinking about the 18 versus 8?
If it's okay with you, Madam Chair, can I defer to Leslie on this one?
Oh, yes, I didn't know she was there.
Oh, thank you. So I think Rick made a really good point that, you know, in the past, I believe every single application for neighborhood employee housing has been on a lot where all of the dwellings are owned by a single entity. So our sort of automatic interpretation has been that the 18 applies to the whole site. Although I think he's made a really good argument about interpreting that another way. And I think that you could make that finding and make that determination in your special permit to allow 18 people in the one structure and then put some conditions on the other structure as he proposed. I think that's reasonable. And, you know, this is subject to a special permit. So, you know, all applications will always be coming to you for your review.
Thank you, Leslie. Anything more from the board before I open the public hearing?
Madam Chair, just a question. What particular section of the zoning bylaw are we just talking about?
So, oh, excuse me, but the definition of neighborhood employee housing, it's in section 2A in the definitions.
Thank you.
Everybody okay to move to the public hearing? Okay, I'm opening the public hearing. Please keep your comments coming to me as chair, and I'll direct them as appropriately. Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a question, given the dormitory nature of this. Will there be an on-site manager or someone on site that is answerable for anything that might come up with the number of people in this space? That's one question. The other is, I like the idea of having a maximum number of folks who can live in a place. As we know, there are, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments on island that have, 15 people in them. And culturally, I get that, but I'm not sure that it's an appropriate thing to just sort of have an open door, however many people can fit in it. So I like the compromise that Leslie came up with, but my question was on the manager.
Thank you, Campbell. Rick, I know you'll want to respond, but let me take any other questions so you get them all at once, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to this in the public?
We have Sarah Ellis with her hand raised. I'll bring her
Sarah?
over.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask almost the same thing as the previous speaker, which is, I guess it's slightly different, but considering how we are both concerned with providing housing, certainly for many people on island, but I've known a lot of people who have lived in the NIR housing on Center Street who are living in double bunks. And it just seems to me that it's always like kind of a fire trap. So I don't quite understand, even given the idea that we house legally 18 people in a house, how that works in terms of the safety of those people. And I also feel, I guess I'm just confused as to how this works. And I appreciate both Mr. Reed and Mr. Brodette. I know them both, and I know them both to be excellent people. So I don't mean it to be a cut, but I just find it to be a lot of people in one space. And how does that work on our island? Thank you. Other than illegally. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who want to speak? Okay, Rick, would you like to respond?
Yes, please. So I guess I'll address Campbell's question first, and that's the answer to that question is that we have provided in our Exhibit B to our application an employee housing management plan. And to answer your question, yes, there will be a housing manager on site at all times, and what we've provided in there is that the name and telephone number of that housing manager is to be given to all the neighbors in case there's any issues short term. And of course, to answer Sarah's question, I think, obviously short-term issues are the responsibility of the housing manager. And I think long-term issues obviously are the responsibility of the planning board to enforce, and of course the building department. I mean, we wouldn't expect if we have an 18-person limit, we're planning on building 9 bedrooms. So we expect to have 2 people in every bedroom there. We would expect the building commissioner to enforce that when we do our renovation. And going forward, if there are issues, obviously it's a special permit and the planning board can open it at any time. So.
Yep.
Megan, I believe I see David Callahan has joined. So one of our alternates. So if that's the case, could you include him as in attendance?
But I'm still.
He's here.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Anything else you want to say, Rick?
I don't think so. Just that obviously, as Leslie said, I think obviously we're willing to accept a condition that the board may deem necessary to make sure that the other cottage on the property is used only by the owner and the owner's family.
I see Campbell again. I hope you could give us one more, but try to keep it.
Yeah, that's okay. It's just for quick clarity, given what Sarah was saying, Ms. Ellis, who spoke also. I'm assuming that both this plan goes through the fire and health departments and things like that. So the safety issue should be resolved through the permitting process, correct?
Rick is nodding yes.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no, does board have further questions of the public? If not, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
John moved, Fritz seconded to close the public hearing. John?
Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Nat?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Judith? Okay, what's your pleasure?
Madam Chair, just a question for Rick. I know there's a employee housing management plan, and I'm assuming that includes all the standards like bus passes, and as Cam noted, inside of that management plan is a 24-hour accessibility for a manager. But I did also want to point out that some of the comments, besides the need for employee housing, it really is a case-by-case basis. And it looks like the applicant is prepared to put in the 9 bedrooms, which is important because we don't have, each property is different, the size of the house is different, and the accommodations should be where it's acceptable for, so it's not crowding. So 2 people to a room is fairly reasonable. We're not putting 6 to a room or something. So when you're looking at particular houses on the island and as we go forth, I think we'll see a few more of these in the future. I just wanted to make a point or note that it's important to know the building, the property. So the quality of life is important for the employees.
Thank you, John. Other comments from the board? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request with the findings by staff and also the 3 conditions.
Second.
John, I wondered if you could call out the point that Leslie made, so if we come back, it would be useful to have that recorded.
Okay, sure. Is this in reference to the 18 maximum to be occupied no more than 18 to the property?
Right. I see Megan first.
Okay.
I think just the clarification that needs to happen in the decision that it's the employee housing unit versus the property that's limited to 18 people. And you can make the finding, kind of as Leslie went over those points before, that this is a larger oversized lot, that there's multiple people in control of these 2 different dwelling units, something to that effect.
Well, Meg, you did a nice job saying that, so I don't want to leave that out. As Meg had just stated, that the dwelling units are going to be no more than 18 people of the employee housing request.
You can also say what she said, John.
Well, that's easier. As Meg stated, yes.
Yeah, and then just the family of the cottage, the person that leases the cottage, just them and their family, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
No, thank you.
Rick, was there something else?
No, I think if we go with what Megan said and Dave said, I think we're good.
Great. That's my motion.
With John's help.
That much.
We have Don made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Nat seconded. Roll call, John.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Judith, aye. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you so
I have
much.
a feeling you've got a number
Thank
more
you.
to go tonight, maybe, but
I think one more.
okay. Next one is 17 Broad Street, Farrow 17 Broad. Megan, do you want to kick us off?
I'll just give it right back to Rick, if that's okay with you, Madam Chair. This is also his application.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Megan. Rick Bodette for the applicant, Farrow 17 Broad. The property is 17 Broad Street. It's located in the CDT zoning district. And it's currently, everyone I think knows, is operated as the Graydon House Hotel and Restaurant. And we're just here tonight seeking a rather minor modification to the existing MCD to allow one of the guest suites, Unit 4 specifically, which is a garden level guest suite, to be used as either a guest suite or spa services interchangeably as the owner so chooses. In addition to that, we also, the existing special permit limits the employees to a maximum of 22, and we would need that to be increased to 23 when the spa services are in use, so that a spa technician can come in. I did see the staff report again, and their recommendations obviously all seem reasonable. The hours of operations, it's something I did leave out of my application, and I heard today they would like that to be 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And of course, we're fine with only having 23 employees when it's being used as spa services. When it's used as a guest suite, obviously we can keep the max of 22. And obviously we're fine with all the other conditions. So with that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Rick, one that occurs to me is ordinarily we count rooms and employees and residents, but now there'll be people coming and going. Do you have any estimate of volume of people who aren't staying there that would be coming and going to the spa?
We don't actually. I don't. We don't have any idea of what the volume is. Obviously, we hope it's significant, but I think it. The original idea was we thought it would sort of defray the lack of hotel rooms that exist in the winter season. So I think that's the hope, is that it's busier then. I think the reality, I believe, is that it's probably more valuable to them to rent it as a guest suite in the summer. But they would like the option if guests would like to have the spa services. So
would you consider some cap on the number of non-residents using the spa?
I mean, I'd consider anything, but I don't have the authority to accept anything. And the only issue with that is just the timing of it. So, I mean, I think we'd probably accept a reasonable amount. And if it were a problem, I guess I could come back.
Okay, thank
I
you
don't know.
for doing that. The volume of people coming and going, I think, matters to me and probably to nearby property owners. Other members of the board with questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, through you.
Yes, John.
Question for some concern, and I guess follow up with a question for Rick. Rick, what I'm concerned with is, number one, you mentioned the hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., but you're also looking at the grading house and the restaurant there, and maybe conflicting times with hours of operation for that. So in essence, it's a permit within a permit. You're also looking at the flexibility to utilize the spa at a future time for year-round services at their discretion. I would prefer that we treat this as it is right now, as you're applying, and then if it was going to be for future year-round services, that you would come back to us, because by granting you an open permit right now to just, if you're at your discretion, then we might have different issues in the summer with hours of operation, neighbors, other guest services there, parking, that we're not really addressing right now. We're just kind of leaving it up to your applicant. So I think I'm not speaking for the rest of the board, but I would prefer to treat this as it is right now on the face value, without adding the flexibility for the summer.
John, does that mean you put like a 1-year review on it?
Yeah, like special permit. So we can review it and then maybe add in the year-round services if it's something that the owners or the applicant would like to pursue at a future venue. We can open it up again.
Dave.
I think, I appreciate John's comments, everyone else's comments, but I think this is one guest room and one employee. So I'm not sure that we should be overly concerned with traffic or intensive use. I mean, if it's one guest room and one employee, I feel pretty comfortable that it's not gonna really tilt what he's already permitted to do greatly, my opinion.
Rick?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. Not surprisingly, I agree with Dave. I mean, it is a pretty minor thing that we're asking for. It is very limited. And remember, in terms of parking and traffic, I mean, there's a reason why there's no parking requirements in CDT. There are parking spaces, there are bus routes, there are other ways to get there. A lot of people live in town, obviously. And so, we'd rely on that to state that it's not, even if it is wildly busy, which I'm doubting it will be crazy, of course. But, even if it were, in the winter, there probably are more spaces. In the summer, I think the people of Nantucket have decided we don't need parking spaces on actual lots. So, but and the reason, just just so you know, the reason I requested the flexibility is because, I've been through this so many times, and if someone wants a retail space and then they come back a year later and they have to go through this whole expensive process to make it an office or turn half of it into an office. And, if it's obviously, if it's a major, building that's changing, obviously that should come back to you to review everything again. But these small little items, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense for a full review. So that's the reason why we asked for the flexibility.
And through you, Madam Chair, I just want to clarify, I'm not opposed to this, and I would actually prefer it if you came before us and then requested the year-round service, because I would be in agreement with that. I don't think it's a burden with the traffic and what we're saying. I think procedural issues come into play for me, because I'm looking at other applicants in the future saying, well, when we want to serve sandwiches, but then, maybe in the summer we'll serve open seating and we'll take people coming in here. I'd rather have an application be more precise in what you're doing, hours of operation, what the description is, and I'm okay with that. But I think the word flexibility and leaving it up for, the owner's discretion, I don't think sets a good precedent for other applicants. And it could be, anything later on. So procedurally, I have an issue, but from the content and the application, I don't have an issue with.
Okay, are you ready
Madam
to?
Chair,
Yes.
just real quick, there's no letters of opposition in the packet for this. And, I would see this as a minor change. They've been there for a while now. They changed a few things with the dining on the porch and some other stuff. Place works really well. It's in kind of a wrinkly spot with the town parking in the front and all that, but it works. It looks like it's been there for 100 years, that building, maybe more. So I don't have an issue with this. I think there'd be some letters or something if there was going to be a problem. In fact, I think they could probably do this and nobody would even notice without coming to us, honestly. Not that I want that, but I mean, they're kind of just trying to be legal with this so that they can figure this out on their own, I think, and adjust as needed. So I don't have an issue with it. I don't want to make a motion to close yet, though.
No, I just have a comment or question.
I
for
think
staff.
we haven't opened the hearing yet, so.
Oh, well, okay.
So through you,
John,
Madam Chair, a question for staff. Leslie or Meg, do you see any issue with this? Again, I'd like to vote in favor, but do you see any issue with the terminology used for flexibility for future?
I don't see any issue with it at all. And I think Rick can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's a similar allowance at the White Elephant. And we haven't had any issues with that. And I'm aware of some other permits, not this specific situation, but other permits where there is flexibility built in. And in those, we haven't had any issues.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. I saw Campbell's hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to second what John was saying procedurally. But I understand the flexibility issue. So thank you for calling on me.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the public who wants to speak, Megan?
Sarah Ellis has her hand raised.
Sarah?
Thank you for calling on me, Madam Chair. And Megan, I guess I just don't appreciate the idea that I appreciate the idea of flexibility. I think it is, as Nat said, a beautiful place. Most spa services require 60 minutes, if not 90. And I assume as the planning board, if it wasn't the board of select people, have already done away with a lot of parking spaces downtown. And I just feel that unless they can designate some sort of parking area for these services, that we are dealing with certainly a different situation than the White Elephant, as it is not in the historic downtown district. And I find that that example is completely inaccurate. And also, if there aren't objections to it yet, that may be that people haven't noticed, but things get under the radar. And I appreciate Rick's time. Thank you.
I'm gonna see if there's any other comments, close the hearing, and then we'll let staff and Rick respond. Any other comments, Megan? Okay, is there a motion to close?
Motion to close public.
Thanks,
Second.
Rick. Nat seconded. Roll call, Fritz.
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Okay, so the last question was about parking. I think we've heard Nat eloquently explain that there is no designated parking anywhere in the downtown. Is there any more to be said? Megan?
No, there is no parking requirement here.
Okay, were there any other threads I missed from either Miss Ellis or Campbell? Okay, are you ready to vote?
We need a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to, what do we got here? Amend the existing special permit to allow Unit 4 to be used either as a guest suite or spa service at the applicant's discretion, subject to finding that the application's proposals in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the bylaw, and subject to the 3 conditions set forth in the staff memo.
Thank you. There was some more byplay, John. Are you happy with that?
No, I am, with the clarification and from staff, I'm happy with that.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
That was Dave. Roll call. Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Judith, aye.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Is that your last one? You get to go home? Or maybe
That's
you
it.
are.
I get to go home. I can just sit back and watch the fun.
Oh, I'm sure. Next up is Stephen and Carrick Gibson, modification number 405 Arrowhead Road in Tomahawk. Megan, you want to kick us off?
Sure, I just brought Kara over as well. So the applicant is requesting an amendment to the subdivision to allow for 2 second-floor dwelling units totaling 6 bedrooms to be used exclusively for the employee housing of Steve Gibson Landscaping. This is very similar to a recent application that you approved in the same area, in the same subdivision. In fact, difference is this is actually comprising 2 lots. So really, that's what the proposal is. Planning staff supports the application and recommends approval as proposed.
Questions from anybody on the board? Then I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak? Campbell, why do I know you're always first off the block?
Well, I don't know that till first. I just had a quick technical question on my end. It looked to me from the site plan that the majority of the building is in one of the two lots. And it's my understanding that each lot is allowed one, I think it's a 2-bedroom, maybe it's a 3-bedroom apartment, but one apartment with each lot. So I'm wondering whether these two lots are technically combined or whether they remain two separate lots. And if they remain two separate lots in future, does this restrict the lot that doesn't have the apartment section on it? Does that restrict it to 0 apartments, or would they be coming in for a special permit or a modification, or how would that work? So that's sort of what I was wondering.
Thank you. Let's see if there's other questions and we'll take them all. Anyone else want to speak? Okay, Megan, do you want to respond to that?
Sure. So the site plan submitted that is included in your packet reflects the existing conditions. The applicant is proposing to construct a new garage with the apartments above that will be placed on both properties. I don't want to speak for Ms. Gibson, but I believe they're wanting to obtain the permission to have the 2 units before they invest the time and effort in designing the buildings and going through that permitting process. So the site plan before you is, again, existing conditions, not the conditions of which are being proposed.
Okay, so then is this like what we're doing at 31 Fairgrounds, where they're having a lot line go between units?
No, the properties are in common ownership.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Is this just now one parcel instead of 2?
It's 2 parcels, but it'll be one collective structure.
Okay.
Campbell, okay?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else? Is there a motion to close?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Dave moved and Fritz seconded it.
Yeah.
Roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Judith. Okay, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion to approve with the staff findings that the applicant's proposal is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw, and also the 2 conditions spelled out in the staff packet.
Second.
Okay, thank you. John moved, Dave seconded, roll call. John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Well, a quick one for change. Okay. Next up is Candlewood Corner. Modification 6. This is 120, 122, and 124 Old South Road. Megan, do you want to kick us off?
I'll defer to John and or Leo on this one, if that's all right with you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Okay, I think I'm up. Thank you, Madam
Hey,
Chair. For the
John. Hello.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the applicant, Attorney John Brescher, representing the owner of the properties over on Candlewood Corner. What we have before you is a slightly convoluted application of or issue of sorts. The owner owns 122, 124, I believe 126. Have that right. 120, 122, and 124 Old South Road. Basically the three vacant lots that are on in Candlewood Corner, and is proposing to put in apartment buildings, which would have effectively 6 bedrooms each, I believe 2 dwelling units per apartment. And in doing so, they are requesting that the MCD modification be waived, or not waived, be modified to construct these buildings. They are allowed by special permit. I think this is effectively contemplated within the original MCD decision. The issue, however, is going to be, I think, one of parking, in as much as I believe that if the parking requirement for these 3 apartment buildings will be 18 spaces. All the parking is already constructed. So it's a question of how the parking is calculated per the existing MCD decisions and modifications. In other words, 85 spaces were constructed. I think that is, there was a surplus of eight spaces, and that was, sort of codified in one of the previous modifications. However, at some point, I think in the original MCD, initially 11 spots were waived for future uses. And the question would be whether or not these apartment buildings would be considered those future uses, and they could sort of attach themselves to that parking waiver. So that's sort of one issue that's out there. The other one, and this is, I can share absolutely great news on this end. My client is absolutely committed to extending the bike path from, I guess it's the corner of Macy's Lane up to the Locust, where the old where it is in front of the salt box where the old AK Diamonds is never constructed. He's going to fill it in. He's going to construct the bike path to the requirements that the planning board had asked for, and we've been in touch with Ed Pesci about what needs to be done for that. So that's the project in a nutshell. Leo Asadorian is here as well. He is very familiar with sort of the back history of this project as well. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thanks, John. Dave.
I'm just going to throw this out there, and maybe John could go to his client and ask him if we're going to give him a pass on the retail on the first floor. Would he be willing to maybe assign some units to be affordable? Just a thought.
I'd be happy to ask Dave. The other thing is, I think with apartment buildings, I don't know that the commercial has to be included, but if they're deemed apartments, they have to be. But as an apartment building, I think I'm not sure commercial is necessary, but it's a question I don't mind asking anyway. And I can ask what his intention is for the rental units.
Okay. I think is that part of the MCD to be commercial on the first floor of that agreement, I think originally.
You're
Other
fine with the
board
definition.
members?
It's just something that was contemplated in that original decision.
Okay, other board members, questions, comments?
Madam Chair, maybe I missed it. Have we resolved the question of the parking and the comment in the staff report about, I take it 18, well, since they're commercial and residential, I guess there are parking requirements for both. And the question is, what's the total amount and do they have to be allocated? Is that the issue? Or have we already resolved that?
Megan.
I don't want to speak for the board, but I know as staff, I don't have a clear understanding as to what spaces are allocated to which units based on their uses in the collective MCD. So we know that 18 are required here. We know that there was originally a waiver of 11. We know that there's 80 existing spaces, but what we don't know is of those 85 that are available, how are they currently being utilized and being serviced by each individual unit and use?
John, do you have comments?
I'm not, frankly, I'm not sure either. I think there is a benefit here. I believe that the applicant owns all of the commercial units in this, so we're in somewhat control of it. But how about this? I'm happy to work. We're happy to work with staff to try to figure out what this answer is as it relates to the parking per unit and per use on this property.
Thank you, John. Other comments from the board?
Just a quick point to John. What year did we approve this? I don't remember. I don't think I was on then. This is a while ago. 07? Megan or John or whoever, the original approval.
I think it was more like 2004, 2005.
Yeah, okay. The thing is that I think what John Brescher is trying to say, these 3 lots have sort of been sitting there and the place has been up and running for a while. Some uses have changed in the first floors. I believe the last 2 units on the right are all living space, I believe. I don't believe there's a commercial, or maybe there is actually a commercial business in one of them. But I think the parking sort of rotates itself during the day because of the uses. They're not intense, and they sort of migrate around, and sort of spaces open up by themselves. So I hear what John is saying, and I don't have an answer myself, obviously, but the place is built and these 3 lots sit there with, we're not going to build a parking garage, that's for sure. So what are we going to do? I don't know what the answer is as far as adding spaces. My thought was to say, if this was built when it was all done, we probably would have gave the same waiver, because there isn't any space left for parking. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks about having staff work this out, but I don't really see any option for us on this, really.
Thanks, Nat. Leslie.
Great, thank you. I just want to point out that I think now's a really good time to figure out exactly what uses are there, what the number of spaces per lot, how many are required. This comes up with Nantucket Commons every time someone comes in with a modification. Yeah. And it's so far gone at this point that it's just sort of taking a stab in the dark at trying to figure out what's required and what's not. So I think this is a good time for the applicant, while they still control everything, while these lots are still vacant, to put together a spreadsheet of each lot, the uses on the lot, and the number of spaces required. So we can get a good grip on what is there now, what's required now, and what's required going forward as modifications come in.
And you'd be comfortable, Leslie, if we act tonight, but leave those details to you?
To the applicant to do
Yes.
that research and put together that information. But yeah, I think.
Okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, question
Yes,
for
John.
Leslie. Leslie, these are 3 lots. There are 3 units proposed, 3 bedrooms per unit for a total of 9 bedrooms. Can we mix and match a little bit if we added 2 lots? Maybe we'll call them the flanker lots and have 4 bedrooms on each of those. And then that 3rd lot being the middle lot utilized for parking. So it would extend into that lot and then it would accommodate a parking. So we're kind of making a little bit of a concession. We're knocking it down from 9 bedrooms to 8 bedrooms, but we're also supplying the parking needed. Is that a possibility in this?
I mean, you can certainly ask the applicant if they're willing to do that. I think that might entail even a further modification to change the use of one of the lots to parking. But back to the chairwoman's prior question about acting tonight. I mean, the only sort of glitch with that is you may need to grant a parking waiver, and we don't know what that waiver is.
John?
Through you, Madam Chair, that question to Mr. Brescher. Is there
I
a
meant that,
possibility?
John.
Oh, okay.
Too many Johns.
Yeah.
Is it, I'm sorry, is the question if we can work with staff to do this? I mean,
Well, I'm just,
tonight or to do, or excuse me, to work the parking so that they're, or sort of explore the possibility that
yeah,
I mean.
I don't know sorry to interrupt, but I don't know what stage you were at with already plans ready to go and looking at those, if they were amenable, if the owner was amenable to maybe being flexible to, conform to the 3 lots and make 2 different buildings.
How about this? My sense is that I think it would be prudent to have us come to create the spreadsheet that Leslie suggested about identifying all the uses and all the parking requirements, so we know exactly what we would be asking for relative to any waiver, if any. And during that exercise, it'll be worthwhile to ask the applicant and check with Leo, who I know is on here, to see if there is any creativity we can have in sort of playing with the buildings, because I don't believe anything has been submitted to HDC as of yet. So we're still sort of in the nascent stages of this. So it may be, if it's something the board is interested in, maybe a worthwhile exercise to investigate.
Right. And I think, looking at, you just said it, as long as there's not a plan or any submission, the exploration of it might be a good fit right now to explore even, a separation where you can finish off a basement and make an apartment out of that. And that would be the 4th or 5th bedroom or something like that, if we have the ability to do that. So make 2 larger buildings with at least the appropriate parking, then instead of utilizing all of those 3 lots and then trying to work with the parking that's existing, that when I drive by, it's fairly well, it's being used very well.
So,
thank you.
Fritz.
I'm just listening. I mean, I don't have an opinion on or knowledge enough to know what the requirements are or ought to be, but it sounds with what John is suggesting, they might want to consider. It seems to me, rather than approve this subject to the applicant and the staff working out what the parking should be and where it should be. It seems to me like we should just continue this, because in what happens, it may turn out that we could approve this and then they'd have to come back because now they want something changed. So it seems to be much easier just to continue it and then go from.
Is your pleasure to open the hearing, take any comments and continue the hearing, or just not open the hearing? Are there people who want to speak besides Campbell? Because she'll be here next time too. Well, then let's have a motion.
Can I just ask,
Yes.
Madam Chair, can I ask one more question to Leslie and Megan and
Yes.
I guess John Brescher? On the Hannah-Beer buildings, I think we need to find out how we calculated, when you get this exercise going, Leslie, how we calculated the parking on the Hannah-Beer side. Like, did the people that live in those places upstairs park their cars back there versus the businesses use the front type of thing? You know what I mean? Like, there's if you took an aerial of this in 2005, I bet it would look a lot different than it does now as far as that part goes, because they've probably figured out how to make it work on their own. So just to keep that in mind on the Hannah-Beer side, that's all.
Good
Okay.
suggestion. So is there a motion to continue?
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
That motion.
And Nat moved, John seconded.
Fritz, second.
Roll call.
Fritz seconded,
I'm
Judith.
sorry.
Yep.
Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Judith. Campbell, if there's something pressing you want to have considered, why don't you email to Megan so she's aware of it?
Okay.
I'm sure you'll be back next time. Okay, thank you, John. We're on
Thank you.
to 46 seen this before. Hi, Sarah.
Good evening.
Sarah
Thank you,
Alger's
Madam
here.
Chair.
Do you want to have Megan do anything first, or you want to launch right in? Sarah.
I'm happy to launch right in, or Megan, if you want to say something, that's fine too.
The only thing I wanted to mention for the benefit of those that didn't attend a site visit, I know I went with John and Dave and took some photographs that I included with the packet just to offer some perspective as to the setup in 46. But besides that, Sarah, take it away.
Sure. Well, first, I want to apologize to the board for all the confusion around this application. I think Paul Santos is here with me, as is my client, Robin Halleck. I think both Paul and I thought that we had kind of gone over all of this when we did the minor modification in June, only to find that you all had a completely different opinion, which is why we're here now. And I'm happy to be getting this cleared up. When this property was originally permitted, it was permitted as 2 contractors' shops. And I think it's kind of the collective opinion that that's probably not the best use category for the uses that are proposed. Specifically in the 2 what we've been calling the 2 contractors' shops. In one side, we have Pioneer Cleaning, which is a full service cleaning, including pool cleaning company, rug and storage and cushion cleaning, as well as commercial and residential cleaning services. And then in the second garage bay, we have something that really probably doesn't fit all that easily into our bylaw, which is a laundry service, not a laundromat. It's a laundry service with capability of 6 washing machines, currently 4 installed, 6 commercial dryers and a commercial press. The applicant is proposing not to have people coming in and out, no coin op, no dry cleaning, no customer ability to be on the property at all, but rather a pickup and drop off service for all sorts of commercial and residential laundry, both in connection with Pioneer Cleaning as well as other customers. It would all be done by vans picking up the laundry, bringing it to the site. It's laundered, folded, and then put back in the vans and delivered. I know the site has been under construction, so it's been hard to get kind of a sense of what's really happening there. I think Carrick was there today putting in the apron. Robin proposes to put a fence along the front of the property just to clear up any confusion. All the entrancing and exiting will be via the driveway over the cobble apron. There'll be no backing out onto Surfside Road. Paul's engineered it in such a way that the cars come in, they park, and then when they go to leave, they swing around and come out nose first onto Surfside Road. The other uses of the property remain as they are currently permitted. And I think that's everything. I don't know if Robin and Paul want to add anything, but.
Would you like to add anything?
Just Sarah pretty much, hit the nail on the head. We're just going to be a service. As I said, a pickup and delivery service. There's no customers in and out. We never had the intention of having any customers in and out. So I think that was one area that was, confusing in the beginning. So I think the issue with the staff and the members that came was the access to Surfside Road, which we discussed, and we're going to only go out obviously through the driveway, which is on Paul's plan, and putting maybe a split rail fence across the front of either side to really, show that that's not access, you can't access there. I think that was the major concern, and I think we've, solved that concern.
Yeah.
Paul, is he here?
Yes, I'm here. For the record, Paul Santos. Really the application before you from an engineering point of view, there are no specific changes or requirements. And I think Megan can attest through conversations between Megan, myself, and Ed Pesci that the application before you is strictly to deal with the use in the building. Has no effect on the plans that were previously approved with regard to engineering components on the site.
Okay, you folks done? Members of the board, do you have questions?
I'll just go first, I guess. Paul, yeah, so the parking in the front today, you can see how it's gonna work. Like today, I could see finally how this is gonna not be sort of, a free-for-all in the front to where people are backing out into the street. The way they've got that little berm there. And it fits two small vehicles parallel, which can back up to the right towards the rear and pull out. That is the biggest issue of this as far as that traffic pattern goes, because the original permit way back when it was going to be an ethnic restaurant and that was going to be parking in the road in the back. There's so many different things here. And then here comes COVID, and the front of the Muse is now not going to be the loading zone anymore. And, it just changed so much. And then this was, I just never figured that out the front. So now we have a something that's going to work. So that to me was the biggest issue as far as how people drive. They're just going to back up. So that what Robin said about the fence, I think that's a great idea. It'll look good, and it will make it so that they have to back around and pull out. So that was my biggest concern as far as the vehicles go.
Other members of the board?
Yes, Madam Chair. Just wanted to, number one, thank Robin for allowing us to come and take a site visit of that. I think it was very helpful in clearing up a few things. Looking at the size of it for everyone that's thinking about the building, it really is a one bay garage on one side with 4 washers that we witnessed and 6 dryers, and then with the additional 2 potential, I would assume that they would put in. And the other side was more or less like a small garage bay where they had the rolling or drying press. The issues that we had with retail, with traffic and people coming in, and also the safety of backing out onto a busy street have been addressed, and I'm fully confident that it won't be any kind of retail. It would really be a service business to complement their own business, as well as businesses like that for pickup and drop off with their vans, not so much a public retail. The split rail fence that is proposed or in the findings is a good addition, because it would really limit any kind of backing out onto the street, as Nat described. Backing out to the rear and then pulling forward would be the natural way to turn around. So with everything, the site visit, the conditions and findings, I think the applicant did a good job to address the concerns of the board. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, let's open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wants to speak? I see Campbell, surprise. Campbell.
I know I should just be a member of the public. Anyway, had a couple questions. I have a couple of concerns that are not related they were earlier this summer related to the parking, and the issues that were, as Nat said, were cleared up. I noticed this morning because it has been rather precarious in that area, coming and going. But so in the June 14th packet, Director Gray, the director of the sewer department, had mentioned his concerns with the type of laundry and potential wastewater and things like that. And so I sort of included, I'm not sure if those were ever resolved, his concerns were ever met with. And I'm a little concerned about, okay, so the carpets are going to come in, they're going to be cleaned using whatever, chemicals and things. Is there like for a auto mechanic thing, is there some kind of a treatment basin thing? If you're cleaning pool filters, that again is, full of stuff that you don't. So I was just wondering more from that perspective on use.
Well,
So are those, do you have any more, Campbell, questions?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I was just trying to follow up on David Gray's concerns.
Thank you, that's good.
One other thought.
I'm going to see if there's any more speakers before we go back to the board and the applicant. Megan?
I was just wanting to confirm, and I think I omitted this from the packet, that I did have a conversation with David Gray. I sent him along these most recent materials for the requested clarification, and he did confirm that what's now permitted with the sewer department is exactly as what's being proposed here tonight. I think maybe in the beginning there may have been miscommunication between the applicant and the sewer department, but that has since been resolved. And he, based on the scale, he did not think that there needed to be any sort of special treatment or any type of holding facility. They're not doing dry cleaning services here. So he, from a sewer perspective, was okay with how this application is moving forward.
Great, thank you, Megan.
Anybody else to speak? No, okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Thank you, John. Second?
Second, Fritz.
Fritz. John moved, Fritz seconded. Roll call, John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Judith. The public hearing is closed. Board members, are there further things you want to inquire about?
I think that condition 2, Leslie and Megan, I think that covers it doesn't actually say the direction of the vehicles, but that will cover it because of the fence, and how it's written should be clear enough for the future, correct, in your eyes? I think so.
Is there need to clarify
I
the meaning?
I think it's okay. I'm just thinking about, down the road, somebody might forget that, but I think that is clear enough. If they want to put anything in there about the vehicle, having to pull out, I don't know if we can say that, but that's it's saying it without saying it in the decision. So I'm good with it, I think.
I'll call on Dave in a second, but just to finish the thought, is there need to better define or reference what we mean by contractor shop, if that's how this is being classified? Megan?
I think the importance here is classifying the business operation and the specific use of the contractor shop.
Okay.
I think this might be a circumstance that it doesn't necessarily check one box or the other. So I think it's going to be really important in the decision just to clearly define what these garage bays are being utilized for.
Great. Dave?
Yeah.
And I just, I know we talked about this in the site visit and it might be a little bit out of our purview, but I just wanted to urge Robin to do something about screening that vent. And
It's an HDC requirement.
Oh, they've
So
already, okay.
We've got a plan before the HDC now.
Not
screen.
picking on you, just
It's okay.
throwing it out there, thanks.
I'm used to it.
Well, the way Megan explained that is good.
Are we ready for a motion?
Before you vote, Madam Chair, can I ask you to clarify condition number 3? I'm wondering why we need that. I understand if the use changes, we have to come back, but why does who owns the business matter?
Megan?
I think, and I'm happy to reword that, Sarah. I think it just was my way of trying to clearly articulate what that site is being utilized for, since there has been a lot of back and forth and miscommunication about what the operations are there.
Right. So if we could reword that just so that it does deal specifically with the use as opposed to ownership. And we understand if we start using it for something else, we'd have to come back. It certainly can't go into any of the other personal services, for example, without coming back. So
we can leave that to staff when they write this
I
up.
think that's good. Clean up the language.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to approve or not?
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve with the 3 findings. The first finding especially being that the proposal is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw. Also, the 4 conditions with the 3rd condition in reference to the ownership that we just talked about to be worked out with staff and counsel for the owner and the applicant.
Is there a second?
Second.
Dave seconds. Roll call. John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Nat?
Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Judith? Aye. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay, last one, but not least, 23 Broad Street LLC, Brotherhood of Thieves, 23 Broad Street. Want again say to anybody who may want to speak at the hearing portion of this, we already have in mind to continue the hearing into next month's meeting. So if you're here to say you don't think it was properly addressed, the notice, or some other kind of modest problem that you think exists, don't worry about that. Speak on the merits tonight when we get to you, because there'll be another chance to come back, but we'd like to get all the input we can tonight. And to remind you, I see there's a lot of people in the audience, many of whom may want to speak. Processes, the board fully discusses the proposal with staff until we've got all our questions on the table. Then we open the public hearing and call on you. We may or may not answer all the questions you have because some of them may carry over till the next time. But when you do speak, we hope you'll limit your comments to 3 minutes and you'll address them to the board through the chair, not to the applicant, not to each other, not to your dog, but to keep things orderly. Thank you for your consideration. Sarah, do you want to start?
First, Megan, can you drag in a couple of my clients? Are they out there? Let's see, Will McDonough, Steve Silverstein, Jay Harmon, and Ben Markham.
Let's see, Will, Steve,
Jay,
Jay, and what was the last name?
Ben Markham, Jay Harmon and Ben Markham.
Yep, I just brought them all over.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Welcome. And I also brought over Matt McEachern.
Oh, yes, I saw Matt. I wasn't ignoring him. Okay, well, so thank you, Madam Chair. I understand we are going to be coming to a second hearing, and I just want to start by being really clear that my client's name and the name that we've had on the application was 23 Broad Street Owner LLC. I know that's caused some consternation, but we're not attempting to apply under anything other than our own name. So thank you for that. So there's a lot of, I'm hoping that we can take just a little time tonight to clear up some misconceptions that are floating around about this application, give you exactly what it is we're proposing to do, and hopefully hear from some of the neighbors as to what their concerns are so that we can attempt to continue to address them when we come back, hopefully to the next meeting. This is, as I think you know, the Brotherhood building at 23 Broad Street. My clients hope to bring back the Brotherhood that everyone enjoyed and liked so much, particularly in the basement of, or what we call the first level of the 23 Broad Street property. That would continue just as it always has been as the Brotherhood. The second level is also going to continue as a restaurant, as it has been used over the years by the prior owners and operators. The additional 2 floors above that would continue to be housing as it now is. The only change to the building is the addition of a small deck off one side, really to provide adequate lighting and access to that second floor level. The proposal is to have 3 4-person high tops on that. I like to think of it as a porch, but it doesn't really have a roof on it. So I think it's probably more appropriately a small deck. In the patio area, we have a proposed a very small 107. In fact, can we share a screen with a floor plan on it? Is that possible? If someone has one that they want to.
Megan's nodding.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think you have it, Megan. If someone emails it to you, do you want to share it? Because I don't think our existing floor plan shows any of the seating, and maybe it's better if we just come back with it.
I could.
Or if I can give anyone who is, I believe, a panelist. So if Matt has it, he should be able to do the screen share.
I can pull it up.
It'd be good to email it to Megan too, so she has it.
Yeah, and we'll submit it formally for the next meeting.
Sarah, are you talking about, there is a floor plan of the second floor.
Yeah, no, I'm
Those
talking
seating.
really about a site plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can everyone see that?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. So our proposal, and I think the numbers in the application that I submitted was somewhat confusing, because there are a number of things going on here. One of the issues that we're hoping that we can address is an issue that's happening over at Visitor Services, where people waiting for, becoming an increasing problem with people waiting for the various van services, which all congregate over at Visitor Services. taking up too much room on the sidewalk and creating obstacles. I know it was an issue last summer when the juice bar had so many people out on the sidewalk, and it's becoming an issue over at visitor services as well. So we were thinking that we could eliminate the parking that we've had. We would be willing to give up the parking that we've enjoyed at the beginning of the, right off that curb cut off Broad Street, and instead use that as an area where people could wait for the van service to go out to Cisco Brewery, as opposed to waiting over by visitor services. And that van could actually pull up and stop at the existing curb cut right in there, load people up and take them away. So part of the number of people that we were counting for this patio area are the people waiting, would be the people waiting in this particular area. That's number one. Number two, we have a small addition, I think I started to say, of about, what is it, Matt, 107 square feet off the,
Yes, off the existing outdoor bar area right here.
right, for handicap bathrooms. That's the only addition to the building in that area that we'd be doing. That and then the, you might point out just where that porch is, Matt. Okay. Okay, so then in the interior of the courtyard, the Brotherhood is currently, and I know there was some confusion about this, as of 2015, they were permitted to have 80 seats in this area. And our proposal would be to go to as much as 141 seats. And that consists of, there are 12 seats in that interior bar that just moved off the screen. There are 12 seats there. There are 9 four tops, which are there. And the interesting thing about that is that in addition to the 80 people that the Brotherhood was allowed in 2015, the last year or so for COVID, they had an additional 28 seats that they've been allowed to have. So they had a total of 108 seats out in that courtyard. And those 9 four tops are essentially where those seats were. Then there is the outdoor bar has 21 seats, and then there are 12 six tops around that. So it's all proposed seating. It's not a lot of people standing and milling around or grouping together. It's all proposed to be seated. And that got us to the 141, plus the people waiting, plus we were counting employees. And that's how we escalated to the 195. But really what we're looking for, in addition to that porch area, as the 141 people seated, as we said. And then, although the planning board decision says no exterior music, there actually has been outside music for the last few years. And it's been occurring just about where we're showing that platform. Maybe we're building it into a stone retaining wall, but it's been right around there. And that's been used for, 2 or 3 people acoustically using speakers that are kind of projecting the sound out. So what we've been trying to figure out the best possible way to attenuate any sound that would come from this area. And I'm not going to go into it too much because Ben Markham is here and he's the sound engineer that we have contracted with to address this issue. And I think he probably can speak to it better than I can. I'll just tell you that the platform itself would be a sound attenuating platform and that it would have 3 sides so that the music is prevented from going back towards the JC and the or going out to the sides, and instead would go out toward where it's supposed to go, towards the seating. And that then we'd have the center area covered by this sort of umbrella-like canopy that would have micro speakers. Okay, that's what the.
This is a concept sketch of that enclosure. The idea being that we would have to get it HTC approved, but it would be able to basically protect the 2 sides and ceiling. So
Yeah.
just wanted to show you that quickly.
And do you have the picture of Jeff Ross?
Actually, if I think Will can share his screen, he can pull that up real quick.
Okay, well, anyway. So the idea, and then I'm going to turn this over briefly to Ben, but the idea is that instead of having what at least people of my age are used to, which are these big amp speakers blasting out forward and the sound going everywhere it wants to go, you have micro speakers in a variety of locations that are directing a lesser intensity of sound just to the people sitting in the area of the speaker. I don't know, Ben, is that essentially, do you want to elaborate on that at all?
I'd be happy to. Yeah. For record, I'm Ben Markham. I'm with Ascentech. We're an acoustics consultancy working with the applicant. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I think the image that's on the screen right now is of Jeff Ross, who's performing in this same location in the past. And instead of a setup like this, where the sound of a performer would all come from a stage setup with some portable loudspeakers, maybe on tripods, what have you, where all of the sound would have to emanate from just 1 or 2 loudspeakers, and to cover this whole area would have to be turned up pretty loudly. What we would propose instead would be a distributed set of small loudspeakers installed onto the umbrella structure that Sarah referenced. And by doing a distributed loudspeaker system in that sense, where each individual loudspeaker doesn't need to be turned up as loudly to achieve the same level of coverage. We also can use modern state-of-the-art technology to be able to direct sound from those loudspeakers specifically into the venue itself, and in doing so reduce the amount of spill to the surrounding community. So we expect that the overall sound level in terms of loudness would be less than half of what you might expect from a traditional entertainment setup, sort of like what's on the screen here, where all of the sound is emanating from just one speaker location up at the stage. There are a few other aspects of the design that are intended to mitigate sound from people congregating and dining, including the umbrella itself, which would have a mass-loaded vinyl element integrated into it to provide some shielding of sound, particularly to the upper stories of the hotels that are adjacent to the property, as well as the enclosure for the platform that Matt had the watercolor sketch of up on the screen earlier. Right, which is also intended to just contain the sound of that platform area and limit the the amount that spills outside.
And I should have done this, Ben, but can you just give an idea of the places that I know you've worked at gazillion places, but I know successfully on island at a couple that maybe you could just let people know.
Yeah, I'd be pleased to. In all through the work that I do at Ascentec, we're based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, but we've done work on island at the Dreamland Theater. We've done work at the Community Music Center, as well as doing work with folks from Remain on a couple of their projects.
Thank you. And then I guess the only other aspect of the application that I didn't touch on was the so-called microbrewery, which is going to be operated in the back of that lower level. And maybe you could show the picture of that after we identify where it will be. I think there's been a misconception that this is turning into some enormous brewery production, and that in fact is very far from the case. The area itself is very small. It's right there. So how can you, Matt, give a few?
Yeah, sure. So I think, and Jay may want to chime in on this, but basically they will be actually producing as part of the licensure that Cisco has and Jay has. They actually produce beer, wine, and spirits on the property. And so they actually have these mobile containers that are roughly 8x8. Oh, brilliant. There's some photographs of each of them. And so they actually do produce beer, wine, and spirits on site. And the intent here is that there's two kitchens currently, one on what we're calling the first floor, which is the upper level, and then the lower level, which is the Brotherhood as we've known it over the years. There's two kitchens in that back section of the building. The idea is to actually concentrate to one kitchen on the upper level because it's of good size and there's more than enough space to support all of the property's needs. But in the lower level, these three mobile 8x8, they're actually, you can see their shipping containers, would actually live in that lower section. And again, that's part of their operation. We did put a small table down there in case somebody wanted to have a small dinner of some sorts, but not a huge amount of volume. The primary purpose is to house these units.
And they're self-contained, so they're not spewing smoke and steam and odor or anything like that.
Exactly. No, yeah, exactly.
So those are really the components. The elimination of the van traffic from Federal Street, consolidating it at this site, increasing capacity at the patio, adding the handicap bathrooms, regularizing, I guess I would say, the exterior live music. Interior live music has always been a component of the Brotherhood, and the microbrewery. I think those are the key components.
Okay, are you done, Sarah?
I am for the moment.
Okay, thank you, and thank your colleagues. Board members, questions, comments? Chris?
Sarah, can we go back to that exterior site plan? Because I saw on the right-hand side of that, I think it was a breakdown of where the 195. You go farther to right where you see where the, it was when you were showing where, yes, right there. So it says outdoor capacity, 141 patio seats, 30 standing shopping shuttle guests, 12 seated shuttle guests, 12 staff employees for 195.
Right.
Okay.
That 42 number for the shuttle, I mean, that's a maximum number that over the course of the day goes up, goes down. You can see we have we put the bench seating. You might want to point that, yeah.
But there's nothing, just what I'm trying to point out is if you're granted outdoor capacity of 195, there's nothing that guarantees those 42 people are going to be limited to that little area by the sidewalk. They could go back and stand by the bar, right?
Yeah.
Well, we could condition it differently, but yeah, I mean, I suppose that's a potential issue.
Okay.
I mean, the idea is that they would wait in this area that we're calling the waiting area.
Okay. The second question I have is, does the number include, when you showed the deck with the 3 high tops, which is the new deck access from the second floor restaurant?
Does not include those.
Okay, so that's presumably 3 high tops of 2, so that's another 3. That's outdoor, right?
Well, I guess we were considering it part of the inside restaurant operation, because that's where they'll be served from. That's where they're coming from. That's what they're part of.
Okay, but those, so for the moment, just so we're, for the moment, those high tops would seat 2 people, 3 people,
4 people. It's 12 people up there. You know, it's not all that unlike the porch at Graydon House, I suppose.
Yeah, no, the only purpose of this, I want to make sure I'm really sorting through and understanding numbers.
I get it.
Okay, so those are the potential people for outside. So outside, in the way that I'm looking at it, you could have 195 plus 12, I guess. What is the total capacity? So what's the interior dining? What's the interior capacity? Is that limited by?
That's all right. So both, if we were talking about legal capacity, we'd be talking about plumbing code, fire code, building code.
Yeah.
Because we don't go by seating anymore, you know. So I would defer, I think, to Matt can probably give you numbers on what the interior.
Yeah, so
are.
I think the previous COIs refer to seats. And I think those numbers are pretty outdated, but the existing building capacity, the occupant load is not changing. You know, we're not increasing the occupant load of the building on the lower level or the first floor.
Okay.
So we have done
maybe then let me put it a different way. If I were the fire department and I walked on the site, how many people would if I counted, how many people would I allow on that site?
On the site or inside the building?
Both.
On
the site, including the building, total.
Well, I think in the lower level, I think we have an occupant load of maximum. This includes staff, and it's basically a mathematical calculation. So I think in the lower level, it's 89. On the upper floors, I feel like it caps off at like I want to say like 180, 190, something like that. But that's the maximum allowable per the building code. But that's
so what number is that?
It's 89 on the lower level, and I think 190 on the second floor.
And that includes outside?
No.
That does not include outside, no.
Okay, no, what I asked was.
So no, he's going to give you the outside number yet. He hasn't given it to you yet.
How many people would they allow to be in there? Be on that site?
On the property, I could do some quick math for you right now, but so let's just go 1 equals 279 plus, I'm just going to say that if we stuck with a 195 on the outside, I think if you, again, this is complete absolute capacity per the, the building inside would be inside and outside, inside maximum capacity per code, which is the maximum, plus what they're requesting, the 195 comes out to 474, I believe. I mean, don't hold me to that number, but I think that's generally
Okay.
accurate.
But the outdoor capacity per the fire and plumbing code would be significantly greater.
Oh, way higher. Yeah, I mean, if you do the calculation on the square footage calculation based on the area of the patio, the outdoor, quote unquote, legal capacity, provided you had enough bathrooms to support people, would be an outrageous number, which is, it's nowhere near this. It's like the 195 is essentially a fraction. I could find out what the maximum allowable would be for the outdoor.
I think it's about 650.
Something like that. That's right. Well, yeah, it's like 600 people just on the outside, which is obviously not what we're asking for. And again, I'd just point out that those are the maximum capacity occupant loads for the lower level and the first floor. So they're designed to basically limit how many people would be in there at one time, and it's not often that you're maxed out at that number. But
okay, but to go back, I understand what you're saying about outside because there's a lot of space.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, what I think you're saying is inside, let's call it seating capacity, is 89 plus 190?
I wouldn't say it's seating, because if we could actually do a seat count, and the plan for the first floor level is they're working through it. So we're working with a great firm based out of Chicago. So the seating plan is still in flux. So we don't know how many seats we'll have. We will definitely not have 190 seats on the second floor. The occupant load is basically, it's a calculation of, what's the maximum amount of people that you would allow safely inside the building at any, like the maximum given time, like basically a limit to cap it off.
And that includes people coming and going and waiting
tables,
and employees
staff.
and.
And what it is, it's a floor area calculation where, you take a floor area and you take the use associated with that floor area, you divide it by a number that's specified in the code. Could be 15, 7, or 5. And then obviously for kitchens, it's a little bit different. And they'll specify occupants per area for kitchens. If you take all of those numbers and you add it up, and again, this hasn't changed, theoretically from the previous operator, because again, if you apply the same code to the previous operator, they'd come up with the same number.
Yeah. Okay. For the moment, let's stop there. I don't want to take I don't want to take all the time and just have this be a one issue conversation. So thank you.
Okay. Could we take the screenshot down unless somebody wants it?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
I guess just a question to any of the applicants. Has the fire department been consulted or brought over or shown the plans? I see a lot of changes from everywhere from the shuttle stop to the elimination of the access for the driveway, the seating capacity. I know there was a history of a fire at this particular building. So have they been shown the plans to see if what we're looking to review is even approachable in their eyes?
Do
you want to talk about that, Matt? Or
sure. I mean, we had preliminary meetings on site. I don't know if the fire department, I don't recall actually having meetings with the fire department. I know that we did talk to, or there was a meeting with Amy Baxter. But other than that, I think we talked to planning. I think we talked to Board of Health. I did anyways. I think we talked with the building commissioner. So certainly could bring it by and have them look at it.
Yeah, I just don't want to put the cart before the horse. If they saw particular issues that need to be addressed for safety and evacuation if necessary, with the amount of people that are proposed, whether you're off by 10% or not, there's still a significant amount of people being consolidated in a relatively small area, and to have accessibility, especially now with the inclusion of a deck that's going to protrude, and also a potential for a a waiting area, so to speak, for a shuttle with people congregating there. It definitely limits the access, not necessarily from the front of the building, but from the back of the building. It really limits what they can do. So I definitely would consult or give them a call and run the plans by and see if they have any immediate concerns.
Sure. If I could, on that point, I mean, one thing we are doing with the building itself is we are adding additional means of egress. I mean, that is one of the primary reasons for the, the deck was, two reasons. One is to actually add additional means of egress from that center portion of the building, which is something that the building code does require. We are providing more than we need, but that is one part of it. There's also an element of a visual connection to the patio itself. So as far as the building is concerned, the building is a protected building. It's a sprinkler building, which is great, which is not the case of many buildings in the core district. This one is, and that was part of the renovation. That was the extensive renovation that was done, I think in 2005. And so as far as the building is concerned, I'd say that we're adding additional means of egress, which is always a great thing. It is a sprinkler building. And then as far as it comes to, when it comes to outdoor spaces, it's somewhat of a gray area. A lot of most of the building code, the frame of reference is basically you have occupants in a building, and how do you get them out of the building safely and give them as much time to get out of the building. It doesn't cover as much outdoor space because the implication is that people have directions to disperse. But to your point, we can certainly get some more feedback from them.
Thank you.
Ned
And also-
and Dave. Oh, John.
I'm still going, Judith. A couple
Okay.
more. Also, I know most recently in the last year or so, we had a significant plan that was submitted to us on Center Street, and it was the Roberts Collection. And we spent many months and meetings discussing everything from hours of operation to amplified music, neighbors' concerns, everything from disposal of glass and recyclables. So I know everybody's a little bit different, but from my particular standpoint, the size of this, what's proposed, I would refer to the decisions that we made in that application to be almost like a boilerplate that we can take individual concerns and address them, but that was really extensive, and it took a long time for us to meet the concerns of the neighbors and the applicant and the location downtown. So I think that might be something to refer to in the future application, in the future meetings that we have, to give you an idea of what this particular board is looking for and in addressing all the concerns, and especially the neighbors that are in the area.
Yeah, I just want to mention, if it's all right.
Sarah,
yeah.
let me just observe.
Okay.
We've been on this for 45 minutes without the board getting to speak and without moving to the hearing.
Sure.
So
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't mean to be rude, but
No. Go ahead.
I would just say some of the responses, could you hold them till we
absolutely
hear from all the board and then hear from the hearing, and then you can do a cleanup on them, because otherwise we'll be here all night, I'm afraid.
Absolutely understood.
And I don't think we want to be here all night.
That's it for me
okay.
now. Judith, thank you.
Except for John, he wants to be here all night. Ned and Dave.
I'll go first if you want. A couple things. I'm focusing on this driveway thing. So I hate saying how long I've been doing this. So I remember when all this started. So how this has changed and how we got that really nice short-term loading zone in the front of the building till noon has only been there a couple years, and it got kind of shifted to COVID. In the afternoons after it closes and goes back to parking. So now that's going to function the way it was originally designed, getting rid of that kind of crazy crosswalk that was sort of just plunked in the road and taking up spaces. And so I kind of like the way was set up to function, and their idea about the van, I think, is really good in that curb cut. That way it leaves everything intact as to way that it was approved to do, with that loading zone becoming parking in the afternoons and at night. Sarah, I just want to go over these numbers a little bit, seeing them broken down. I have written down 141 in the seating area, 42 in the waiting. I just call it the driveway, the trash, whatever we want to call that, where Donnie Cope used to park his 22-foot truck sitting
Yes.
there. Okay. And then what's the staff number? 12, you said? I forgot what it is.
I think it's 12.
Okay. So I definitely agree. Fritz's point about the people in that area, we have to figure that out. Like, I want to remove that number from the patio or from the total. But we got to make sure that those people don't go in the patio. I think that's the question. I don't consider them part of the patio if they're not in the patio, right?
Right.
So that immediately changes things a little bit. The other question I have is the food service. So I see the two pictures of the squares of I forgot what it says on the thing. It says the food service, whatever that is, Matt. Food kiosk and food cart. So is that for the people in the patio, or is it going to be table service till what time? Is that going to be in the afternoons, early evening, and then it changes to that? Is that how this is supposed to work?
I think the intent for the food kiosk and the food cart are that those would be run by the restaurant operator of both the lower level and the first floor. I know that Jay has talked about, I know during COVID, table service was something that people actually preferred in terms of if they plan to do that consistently. I'd let Jay answer that, and also Steve, in terms of like hours of operation.
Okay, so I was confused. I thought that
if you don't
was
mind,
like
I'm going to ask that.
Sorry, Judith.
I just was going to say, things you want pursued, can you put them out there and then put them in a bucket and we'll come back to them?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Okay, so establishing, trying to come up with a reasonable number minus the working area is my point. That one point we got to work on. Hours for amplified music. I think that you're going to have to look at that and think about having a set time for the amplified music outside. That's the other one I had written down. We're definitely going to be requesting whatever we approve, Matt, is going to be a 1-year review. I can tell you that. That's going to be a guarantee that this board is going to want that. So whatever we're looking at, keep that in mind, that there'll be a review of the first year at the end of the year to analyze how things went, and management, telephone for the neighbors, those type of things that we've established at Millie's and some other places that we've had, changing special permits. So I'll leave that to the next person to speak. The rest. That's all I have right now, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Dave Iverson.
Oh, hi. Thank you, Judith. I appreciate all the work done. What I'd like the applicant to do, and not right now, and it doesn't have to be a response, but I would urge them to explain to us what is different here. For me, I feel like the physical plant, the piece of property is being minorly adjusted, yet the applicant's coming in for a much larger occupancy on the patio. And, you know, the boards of the past worked hard on the MCD for the Brotherhood, and it did change slightly over time. But it did get pinned down to an 80-person maximum. So I would just urge the applicant to explain, and it doesn't have to be now, but what they're doing is different and will be more accepted by the neighborhood, will be better for the town, for the abutters, and for the core district in general. So, I mean, that's my concern. And John's comment with the boilerplate of the first MCD, I think, is important. So I would just like it to be more clear to everyone, including the abutters, the board, and anyone interested in this, is why the increase is good for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, my takeaway from all this is you do well to submit a revised application that has answers to all these questions in it. I think that also should help people commenting tonight, because they'll know there's a chance to come back and look at something that incorporates answers to all these things. Just a suggestion.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to open. Yes. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Remember, folks, 3 minutes maximum, one-time speaker for each person. Try to not repeat what those ahead of you said. Remember that there'll be a refined application and another hearing at the next meeting or one following that soon. So, and remember that we've already cured any procedural issues. So with that in mind, are there comments?
We already have quite a few people with their hand raised. First up is Marianne Hanley.
Okay. Hi, Marianne.
Hi, how are you this evening?
Okay.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I'm here on behalf of the owners of 2 and 5 Ash Street and 10 North Water Street. They're all owned by various realty trusts, and the beneficial persons who have the beneficial ownership, Beth and Jim Frates. You have heard from them. They've sent in letters, and I believe that Beth is still on the phone for the meeting.
Yes.
Major concerns that we have with this, as all the board members have said, is the density of use in this area, which will generate more noise, more traffic, and safety concerns that were brought up. It was nice to see some of the revised plans this evening with some new numbers on them, because that was one of my concerns, is that we really didn't have any accurate numbers with the initial application. I did notice that the last certificate of inspection showed max allowable occupant load in this building of 248 people. Matt may know differently, but I think what we need to also consider is not just the building code, but the zoning code. This building has gone through a series of decisions before the planning board, and the current applicants, in addition to the existing restaurant and outdoor patio, are proposing to have a microbrewery, a micro distillery, and a winery. That leads us to questions of, is what they produce there going to be shipped and sold offsite? What's the production setup? We've seen a few pictures tonight, thank you very much, but we need to have some more information. Will there be offsite sales and deliveries? What are the hours for that operation? Does it generate interior noise or exterior that it would need to be done in the early morning hours, when historically there really hasn't been any early morning activity on this site? Again, we need numbers for the floor plans. I see that there was originally a merchandise shack on the plan. That's been eliminated from what I can tell, and there's a merchandise table. Will that retail area be open to people that don't come in to have something to eat and drink, and people just walk in off the street for that? What about patio lighting, deck lighting? We don't have any information on that. We would need that as well. And, one of the decisions that I read earlier, the safety and convenience of vehicular and pedestrian traffic is prominent concern for the Brotherhood and for that site. We all know that's a tough intersection. There's Center Street comes in from the Cliff Road, Nantucket area. There's an intersection with Joy Street. Then you come down to Broad Street, and then Center Street continues into town. Coming in from Cliff Road has been made more difficult and has actually put a lot more traffic on Broad Street because the town recently closed off access to India Street. You can't take a left-hand turn on India Street anymore. So traffic will be a problem. We all know parking downtown is a problem. It's just getting worse instead of better. But it's really a problem for people like my clients that have residential dwellings very close to this. Yes, you know, if someone says, well, it's a commercial downtown, you don't have to meet parking requirements, but it's right next to residential old historic, which has very narrow streets. Most of the houses, a lot of the houses don't have off-street parking. They rely on on-street parking for themselves. Is that going to get taken away because all of a sudden now we've invited, you know, another 100, 150 people into one establishment, which, you know, if they come in, sit down and have a drink and have a meal, they're going to be there for 2 or 3 hours. Noise is a concern. We would appreciate hearing more about the outdoor awning and how that's really going to mitigate the noise, but noise travels. You know, noise travels, especially in this area. I had a question as well on how deliveries are going to be handled. Looking at the site plan that was submitted with the application, and some of the earlier floor plans that were submitted with the application and with the HDC application, it appears that pretty much all these deliveries have to go around to the back of the building, which again causes noise for the people that live on Ash Street, Joy Street. They're going to hear it. And if they're starting to, you know, if they're going to be bottling the spirits and the ales that are made there, you know, delivery of boxes and boxes of glass and cans, you know, with dollies going over cobblestones. Again, it's just an awful lot more noise. The outdoor music we talked about, you know, there's too much going on. And frankly, the sheer number of people that they propose to bring into that outdoor area, it's really, it's mind-boggling. It's, you know, the outdoor building, the size of the area is not getting any bigger. We're just cramming more people in it. When I looked at the original outdoor patio calculations, if you took the number of people that were allowed in the building, you know, or that were allowed, the 80 people that were allowed on the patio, it looked like they had approximately 17 square feet devoted to each person. And that's not including the bar and the tables and the outdoor beer kegs or the waiting areas or the food kiosks. If you look at it now with the 195 that were proposed, that area goes down to 7 square feet. I mean, that's frightening. It's just the noise level is just will it be exacerbated completely. We also do not have presented for us our open space calculations. That has been an issue in earlier decisions. Pesci, the town's engineer, also wanted to know about stormwater drainage plan. Again, we don't have that information and we certainly would need it. I know I have a lot of clients and people that want to speak to this application. The town, especially possibly through town council, needs to make a determination that a microbrewery, distillery, and winery on the property doesn't constitute light manufacturing, which is forbidden, a forbidden use in this district. And we also need to look closely at the definition of the use chart for restaurants. It defines a large restaurant, or it specifies a large restaurant up to 200 people. What we're talking about now goes way over that, goes very high. And I believe that's something that needs to be addressed by town council to make sure before we go a whole lot further, whether these uses that they're requesting are permitted under the zoning code. As you know, as we all know, you can't get use variances. So that needs to be straightened out before a whole lot more time and effort is spent on this. So again, I appreciate the ability to be heard, and I'd love it if you could turn it over possibly to my client, Beth Frades, if she's still out in the audience. But again, everybody else needs to be heard as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. I think Arthur Reed's up next, isn't he?
Yes.
Who's also your friend, Marianne.
Okay. Well, I have to say that I think Marianne did an excellent job of presenting a great many of the objections that my clients as well have. And I, in addition to Marianne's clients, I'm representing the Lingerman family at 10 Ash Street, who are well within earshot, well within the notice area for this application, and are deeply concerned. They've lived there for a long time. They've observed what's gone on at the Brotherhood. They haven't been thrilled over the years with the amount of noise that's come from the Brotherhood, and now they feel that this is just going to completely exacerbate the situation and ruin the quality of their life as neighbors to this property, if this is permitted. A few points. First of all, removing the van pickup location from visitor services up to Broad Street. So in other words, we're moving a problem from down in front of the visitor services to this location on Broad Street. And if you'll recall, Broad Street was only recently, a few years ago, changed from two-way to one-way traffic because of the volume of traffic on it, because of the amount of activity with the parking on both sides and delivery trucks and so on and so forth. Broad Street, which, as Marianne said, is now even more, or somebody said, is even more extensively used because of the fact that the traffic patterns have changed, is just going to be made that much the worse. And this van service, if you read the story that one of the applicants was quoted in the Inquirer and Mirror, what their business plan is to have patrons of the brewery, people would be taken out to the brewery from this site, and then when the brewery closes, they'd be brought back in town to continue their revelry on this site in whatever various stages of inebriation they may be in. And you can imagine what an impact that would have, totally forgetting about the amplified music, what impact the voices of these people in unison are going to have. It's going to be a totally unlivable area. Bear in mind that the other side, in the back of the property, you're getting immediately into a commercial, into a residential district. And even though this is in CDT, the noise knows no zoning lines in terms of how it will impact those properties. Again, I think that Marianne mentioned a lot of the other points that I would have brought up, and rather than have this continue on indefinitely, and I realize that that we need to get this meeting finished, I'll drop off now, and I'm glad to hear that there'll be further hearings on this, because I certainly intend to have a lot more to say as this goes on and as we get more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. Sue Lingerman.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you. All right, I've written my spiel out to you because I'm very nervous. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
I promise you we don't bite, okay?
Okay, well, I'll stand back. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this board regarding my concern over the proposed expansion plans of the Brotherhood. Since 1965, 3 generations of my family have enjoyed summers at our beloved 1740 home at 10 Ash Street. I maintain a garden that I spend most of my time in. I'm therefore worried that the possibility of the introduction of live music 30 yards away, my son-in-law measured, from the garden, played to an expanded group of patrons, the resulting noise level would make continuing to live at 10 Ash impossible. These proposals for structural changes, increased number of patrons, extended hours, and live music are all geared to maximize profits at the expense of our neighborhood. Please deny these proposals.
Well
End of-
said. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Y'all done?
I am. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm all
well,
done.
thank you for hanging in there and thank you for giving such thought to your remarks.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Elliot Krause. Could I ask anybody else who's going to want to speak to raise your hand logo so we know how many are yet to come? Oh, boy.
Hi.
Okay, Elliot Krause.
Can I speak now? My name is Elliot Krause. I am the owner of the name, the Brotherhood and the Brotherhood of Thieves. I got that through the business certificates of the town of Nantucket. This past summer, I sold the property on 23 Broad Street to the group that you're in discussion with. And I did not tell them the name. I actually do not want to give them permission to use the name at this time. However, I am now in the midst of discussions with the group, so I will be able to give them permission to use the name if we come to some sort of an agreement. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Freites. Dennis Perry.
That's it.
I think that was Mr. Krause, so we still have Mr. Freites to carry over first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Mr. Freites.
Yeah. Somebody else.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you for letting me speak.
For being with.
I'm the owner of the property, and our family has been in the area since 1978. We're the owner of 5 Ash Street, and Mary Ann spoke. I won't take a great deal of your time, but only point out the many mitigations that have been talked about: the porch, the umbrella contraption, the 2-story fence, and the changes in traffic are all meant to mitigate an extraordinary increase in the use of the outdoor property with an extraordinary number of people. Again, I just also point out that the brewery, which we have been to ourselves and quite happy to go out in the middle of the island, closes at 7 p.m., I believe, for a reason, because the neighbors out there did not want the continued noise of live music bothering their tranquil time on Nantucket. Oh. To bring it downtown, bordering a neighborhood of a longtime residential neighborhood, would be a very major change for the livability of the town. And I believe, as I said in my letter, you'd begin the process of turning Broad Street into Bourbon Street. Please don't do that in Nantucket. There's no need to expand the number of patrons that were allowed at the Brotherhood over the years. The board put a lot of work in at other times to put those limitations on. And it's nothing other than the convenience of the new owners that's driving this expansion. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And I want to compliment you on your letter. You're good at metaphors too.
Thank you.
Dennis Perry.
This is Martha Perry, Dennis's wife, speaking on his behalf. We are neighbors at 45 Center Street, which is on the corner of Center and Ash Street, and have been there for 30 years. And we've lived through a lot of different applications for the Brotherhood for changes, and a lot of the thought went into those in terms of limiting usage as well as number of people. We have 3 concerns that have not been expressed yet. Number 1 is, being a patron of the brewery myself with my children, I know that the culture of the brewery is not sitting down and having a quiet meal. The culture of the brewery is standing around. Some people sit, you bring your dogs, you have a ton of fun. And that, to me, I don't know how that's going to work with right now what they're proposing, which are 12 bar tables, basically bar tops, I think that it's going to be much more of a party scene. Secondly, people wait in line to get into the brewery because it's always so busy out at Cisco. Where are the people going to wait in line to get into the brewery in town? I walk my dog 4 times a day and I walk that loop. It's already so busy. And in the evenings becomes even busier because people are going into other restaurants and shops. We have to be sure that if this goes through, that people wait in line someplace else. And the last thing really has to do with controlling the music. Who is going to say how loud it's going to be? What type of music is it, etc. We don't think that it's appropriate to have really any music outside in that area. And certainly nothing after 7 o'clock, which is what is being proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Pressman.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Jonathan Pressman, and I'm speaking on
Thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity. I'm speaking on behalf of my wife as well, Roberta. You're hearing, Madam Chair, from a number of people in the neighborhood and the community, all of whom care very much about this issue and live in the vicinity of the Brotherhood. But I would argue that perhaps none will feel the brunt of these plans more so than my wife and I, since we quite literally live right over the property line on the north side. So in a very real sense, these plans are occurring in our backyard. We have submitted our letter in opposition to the application, and I don't want to belabor any of the points that are set forth at length therein. I do want to hit on a few of the high notes, however, and I do so and ask the board to do so against the backdrop of a much larger issue. As anybody who lives in Nantucket knows, one of the things we talk about most is erosion on the island. And usually we're talking about our beaches, Cisco or Nantucket. But I would ask and urge the planning board to consider a different type of erosion that I submit is equally, if not more destructive than that posed to our beaches. And that's the erosion of the standards we set for our historical district. One of the reasons my wife and I chose to live in the historic district and bought our home just last year was because we felt there is no other place on earth like it. There is just one town of Nantucket. It, along with the village of Sconset, were the two first included parts of Nantucket on the historical registry list. And it was included as a historical place for a very specific purpose and for a justified reason. The architecture, the quality of life there is totally distinct from any other area, both on the island and abroad. And I would submit that at this point, we are really at a tipping point. You know, ultimately, this application is about drawing the line and holding it, and holding a line that's been held by many people for many years. And I would echo some of the concerns or certainly questions posed by Mr. Iverson previously. I mean, what has happened since 2015 when a much more modest proposal was put forth before this board? And at the time, the board found that there was a danger of substantial noise and limited the outdoor patio area to only 60 people. This application seeks 3 times that amount. And I would say that with respect to people, what we've heard a number of times throughout the presentation and in the plans is use of the word small or micro, but there is nothing small or micro about these plans. They are grandiose. This is not a renovation of the Brotherhood. This is a transformation of the Brotherhood. And it is in some sense like drawing the Trojan horse into the court, because everybody loves the Brotherhood. It brings back fond memories. But the plans at issue are not the Brotherhood. It is the Brotherhood on steroids. The 3 points that I would direct the board to concern themselves with or direct their attention to are, first, the number of people. People have certainly spoken about that thus far. But what I would ask the board to consider is this. We're not so concerned with just table seating areas. The problem is the idea that people are just going to sit at their tables while having an experience at the brewery is just not realistic. If it was, there would be no need for a food kiosk or a food truck. Everybody would just have their own waitress or waiter. but that's not in the plans. And until we see some sort of analysis as to how many people will be in there and how they will control the crowds, I submit this plan should not pass. The second is the noise. And we've heard in a number of occasions, both in the presentation and the plans proposed, about acoustic music. The key here is not whether it's acoustic or not acoustic. The key is it's amplified. And acoustic music played over amplification poses a substantial noise risk. And that is a risk that we're already dealing with right now. The Brotherhood has been closed for months. And anybody on Ash Lane, where my wife and I live, or Ash Street, can tell you the fans and the exhaust pipes in the back run 24/7. 24/7 without a single burger placed on a single griddle. It's simply noise that continues and will only get worse with the addition of amplified music. Finally, the traffic and trash concerns, we would echo those set forth by those who spoke before me. The traffic is adding to a much bigger problem. In 2015, the traffic, I submit, was not nearly as bad as it was this past summer. I think anybody who survived this summer on the island can tell us that that was the worst traffic they'd ever seen. It will only get worse if we move a brewery to the center of downtown. And the conduct. Again, I think that, we hope that everybody will behave like schoolboys and schoolgirls going to church. But the fact is that people going to a brewery are not likely to necessarily maintain the best of behavior. So we would ask that the planning board look at this with the reality and with an open gaze towards what we believe will occur if it opens. And that is something that's going to change the historic district of Nantucket forever. It's not about where people come from. They may come to this with good intentions, bringing back a very good name, such as the Brotherhood. It's about where they're going. The people who are behind this plan may be coming from a good place, but they're going in a bad direction. And if the planning board accepts it, I fear so will we. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Graber.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes, great.
Thank you for your letter and your clarification of your son, or are you the son?
I'm the son. There are two Charlie Grabers here. I'm the son. I'm not even sure if my dad's going to speak or not. But thanks for recognizing me, Madam Chairman. So many of the points that I think need to be raised have been very eloquently, and I know we've been here for a while. I'm just wanted to underline, first of all, as long as I'm here, I might as well be counted. And I really wanted to underline the fact that this issue has really electrified this neighborhood in a way I haven't seen any other issue do. And that's going back to the 2015 proposal from the Brotherhood, 2005. And I wanted to emphasize that it's because we recognize that this is essentially an existential threat to a quiet or relatively quiet residential historic neighborhood that will be changed, if not destroyed, by the influx of that many people, that much noise, that much change. You can't see me, I guess, on camera here, but I can basically point out my back window to the Brotherhood fans, which is, John pointed out, are on all the time. When the kitchen's working, there's a fog from that, from the grill that fills this neighborhood, and that's come from the last expansion and the last, their last proposed expansion. Those fans are supposed to be maintained. They're supposed to be higher. They really haven't been, and you can't really wind the clock back on these sorts of decisions. The neighborhood has already suffered a number of these blows, and we hear those fans. I hear them in my bedroom. The first thing I hear in the morning, last thing I hear at night. When there are people in the Brotherhood, even with the modest expansion, you hear that. You hear that too. And any expansion that the Brotherhood undergoes, especially, I'm also especially concerned. I haven't heard, I think, nearly enough about the porch, because people on the second floor carrying out will carry in an entirely different way around this neighborhood where noise travels. I could yell to somebody that was at the Brotherhood right now, and they would hear me. That will absolutely devastate this neighborhood. And so I thank the board for protecting this neighborhood the last time around and holding that line. that John Preston just mentioned, and I ask you to please do that again, and hear the level of concern in the voices of the neighbors here. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Kevin Davidson.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My wife, Catherine, is also here with me. We've been Nantucket residents since 2009. Just let me first make an admission. My fellow neighbors who just spoke, those are tough acts to follow. And I could not express as eloquently as they have our concerns, briefly put into three categories: the crowd and congestion, the noise, and the quality of life. One thing in terms of our approach to this thing, I'm very reticent on an issue like this to appear as if it's not in my backyard issue. I will confess that we love Cisco. Our kids love Cisco Brewers. And I think they'd be upset if finding we were talking to prevent them opening another location. But the reason why we love it is because the atmosphere where it's at, you can let loose. It's not a residential atmosphere. As you know, there's a lot of space out there. And it's not about not being in my backyard. It shouldn't be in any backyard in that close proximity to a residential neighborhood. To give you some sense of perspective on it, we are on Step Lane, but our property opens up on Ash Street. It's about 150 feet, and to put that in realistic terms, that's less than half a football field away. In context of noise, I'm hard pressed to understand how all the ambient noise, not just the music, but from the crowd, won't drift its way here. I listened with interest today to the sound technician from Cambridge, who gave a nice presentation on it in terms of the efforts to mitigate sound. And I guess with all good intentions to mitigate sound, what bothers me is to mitigate it from what? From very loud to just loud? I don't have a sense of that, but I do know that once we get into that type of discussion, and I've seen it before on issues, it tends to be a slippery slope since it's not quantified. You know, it's nothing that is, there's a metric associated to that we can measure. Essentially, those are our concerns, and I would humbly ask that the board would deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth Freites.
Yes, thank you so much. So I am going to say that today and tonight, there was something really good that happened, and you saw the strength of this neighborhood. Sue Lingaman is like a second mother. I grew up at 10 North Water in the summers, and I love this neighborhood. My boys now 22 and 20, they already have plans, and they want to try and live in the neighborhood and be in 10 North Water. It's an amazing place. We are solid. We are tight. We love it. We want to stay here. But what is being proposed is going to make it unlivable. We are not going to be happy. It is not the Nantucket family. Sarah Lingaman, Sue's youngest daughter, and I used to sit on my front stoop, 10 North Water, 9 o'clock, chat, laugh, have fun. I'll tell you, this is without what you're proposing at the Brotherhood. Now, on my front stoop, I sometimes find drunk people fighting on my front stoop. Sometimes I find a shirt. Sometimes I find beer bottles. That's all right. I still love my Nantucket, and I still love 10 North Water. If you are going to cart all these drunk people, whoever's proposing this hasn't lived in our neighborhood. There is no one in our neighborhood that views this as an okay idea. And yes, I've been to the Cisco Brewery too, and I enjoy it out there. It's closed at 7, but already I am fighting the drunkards in the neighborhood. It is only going to get worse. I beg you to think about if you lived on 10 North Water, and if this summer you found someone's underwear and shirt and beer bottles in your yard, how would you feel about people being carted drunk from Cisco Brewery to your neighborhood? Now, I'd also like us to think about 2015. We said there would be no music. Well, there was music. So now we're saying, well, there was music, so we're going to mitigate the music. No, 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 no. There was music. And we said that should be no music. So this is what happens now in Nantucket. You guys make a decision and people go behind your back, behind the planning board's back, and they play music, and then they come back a few years later and they say, oh, now we're going to amplify the music and have loud music and have live music. But the decision was made to have no music. Why were you playing music? No one asked that question here. Why was there music when we decided there was no music to be had? Now you're coming and you're exploding that. It's very, very disappointing. I'd like to end, though, on the positive to say, I am so proud to be part of this neighborhood, and we are going to fight. So this is not over. You're right. We're going to have another meeting. Oh, and we'll have another meeting. We're going to protect our Nantucket. We're going to protect this historic district that we grew up in, that we love so much. And we are here to stay in a livable, lovable Nantucket. Thank you.
Thank you. I see again, R.C. St. Amour. I announced at the beginning that everybody would speak once. So I'm not going to recognize you. I'm sorry, but you can speak at the next hearing if you'd like. If you have further thoughts, email to Megan Trudell. If I open it to you, then there'll be another 20 people wanting to say something yet again.
Hi, Judith. I never spoke.
She never spoke.
Sorry,
Okay.
Madam Chair, I just brought her over because she had her hand raised in the beginning, but never was brought over.
Okay, then go ahead. You're last up then. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to thank you for having me and thank you for recognizing me. I am Roberta St. Amour. My husband, John, spoke a few minutes ago. We bought our dream.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we bought our
Comes
dream.
across is the same label. Sorry.
No problem. We bought our dream home on 2 Ash Lane, abutting the Brotherhood. And I would echo everyone's concerns that they have expressed today. And I certainly do not want to repeat any of those, especially since I'm the last speaker today. I just would like to say that my husband and I both work from home, as well as a lot of the local neighbors. So we are in our home 24/7. And I would just also like to point out that the new owners of the Brotherhood have already started to promote live music on their building. It literally says, quote, live music on Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. And that would be during work hours. To my knowledge, again, the Brotherhood never had a special permit to play live music of any sort. And I don't believe that's changed. Obviously, since we're talking at the planning meeting, nothing has been licensed or given to them. So I would just ask them to remove that promotion since, you know, it's not approved and we're still obviously in the discussion point of things. And I would also like to just say how impressed I am that the community really did come together, and it really does show what a community we really are and what we are really trying to preserve. And the sheer number of people that have talked on this planning board, as well as people who have submitted letters, I think is just the tipping point, because there's a lot of people that do have summer residences. And so if they are not keeping track of what's happening in the Nantucket news, I think that they would be really shocked and certainly would want something to say in the future as well. So I'm really happy that we are going to continue the discussions further down the road as well.
Thank you. And again, I apologize for the confusion.
No worries.
Okay, members of the board, is there a motion to continue the public hearing?
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
The second.
John moved, Fritz seconded. Roll call. John.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Judith. Aye. Okay, what's your pleasure, just to say continue the matter till next time, or do you want to debrief any? I really think there was enough input myself that there's no point hearing more backstory, that there's really going to need to be a major overhaul of how it's presented, and that'll be coming back to us. So I don't know that it's worth.
Well, before we continue, Judith, I think we just did we just close the public hearing?
Yeah.
Are we continuing?
We're continuing. We just
Yeah.
voted to continue it.
Yeah, but we got to keep the hearing open. So I'm just trying to.
That's what continue means, right?
All right. I just want to make sure we did that because I was writing things down and some a few things. Okay, just making sure we didn't make a mistake.
Feel the pressing need to speak further?
No, I'm just saying.
Sarah, do you
make
feel
sure we did the right
deprived if I just say we don't need to hear any more tonight? We'll hear you later.
I think that's absolutely fine. There are some things that were said that weren't accurate that I'd like to clear up, but I can certainly do that next time.
Would you, and maybe feel free to write to Megan and put them in writing, because
sure,
we'll all be thinking about this.
Absolutely. I believe your deadline for written materials for the next meeting is November 1st. Is that correct?
Yes, we juggled the October meeting because of Indigenous Peoples Day, so we juggled November, so it's the 15th for our meeting. But that must, Megan's nodding that that's the submission date. If that turns out to be a problem, there's always December. So anyway, are we ready to continue the matter till the next meeting?
Yes, absolutely.
That's a motion, Nat. Fritz is
Okay.
nodding.
Second that motion.
Roll call, Nat.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Aye for me. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the participants. Especially thank you for being succinct and organized. That was very helpful. Okay, our last, we have a public comment, I know, but we have planning board fee schedule.
So included with your packet was a proposed draft fee schedule. Staff worked together to propose some changes that we felt adequately represent staff time that is put into certain matters. We split cost differences, depending on what is being applied for. We eliminated a couple of things. It's also structured to better align with the input of our new computer software. Before, things were a little bit confusing when different linear feet came into play, or I just wanted to clarify different postal charges. So we wanted to make sure it was cleaner and just flat fees for things, so it would better align with the computer software.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we approve the proposed changes to the fee schedule for applications. This only applies to applications, right? Doesn't apply to building permits or anything like that. Yeah.
Leslie.
I just want to make sure that this is a public hearing. Did you
Oh,
open
okay.
the public hearing?
Sorry. Thanks for catching that. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak to this matter? If so, please raise your hand.
I do. Anne's hand was raised and then it was down, but I know she wanted to comment on the next, just general public comments, perhaps not this.
Okay.
No,
Can we
I'm not seeing
vote
anyone.
to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Nat moved, Fritz seconded. Roll call, Nat.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Judith, aye. Now on the merits, we already had Fritz, I think you moved.
Yeah, I'd just repeat the motion to approve the revised fee schedule as presented or as included in the package.
I'll second.
I'd second that.
Okay, Fritz moved, John seconded, roll call. Fritz,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Judith, thank you to staff for doing that hard work. Okay, public comments. We entertain public comments on all matters. Just to be clear, I know Ms. Dewar wants to speak about plunge pools. Fritz has raised that. We plan to have it on the agenda in November. So you should know that we don't respond to comments on the spot. So this is your chance to say something to us, but we're not going to be giving you feedback, and you'll probably want to be back with us in November. Calling on Ann Dewar.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I'd just like to confirm that you can hear me because I've been getting messages that my computer connection is unstable.
We can hear you.
Thank you. I wanted just to briefly mention to you, and I'll be as brief as I can because it's been a long meeting, that I am in the process of drafting a citizens warrant article, which at the moment I'm calling a limitation on hot tub spas and swimming pools in the historic district. The point is that the definitions of swimming pool residential and hot tub spa in the town bylaws are conflicting and inconsistent, and have allowed the subversion of the voters' will in 2011 to ban pools in our historic districts. The last year, I've worked with 47 of my neighbors in the Mill Street area neighborhood on these issues, and I'm reflecting their concerns for sure, but they are basically illustrative of the broad concerns in the historic districts, generally speaking. But what we'd really like is the help of the planning board to resolve these issues. The citizen warrant articles are due November 15th, and so I will not have the benefit of your input because your next meeting is not until after that. But did want to let you—
And just so you know, we never do that because we will hold hearings afterward and all that kind of thing. If we did a preliminary run through and conversation about everything under development, we'd never get to closure on anything. So no offense personally, I hope you know that.
Okay, well, understood. At any rate, I will go forward with it. And if it turns out that you do take up the issue subsequent to the deadline for the citizen warrant article, then I would like to have the opportunity to come back to a future meeting and work with you on the matter, should you choose to take it up yourself. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate
Thanks for your hard work and your patience. Okay, is there anybody else who wanted to speak at the public comment? Seeing none, it's time to adjourn. Our next meeting is November 15th. Remember that I had to ask Megan that juggles dates, and there's a different date for NPEDC and things like that. So if you need a reminder, she'll give it to you. Thank you to staff for the hard work and to everybody on the board for the hard work. This was a challenging meeting. I hope I did okay running it. Give me critique if you think I could do better. Is there a motion to adjourn? Pardon, John?
I think you did a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Okay.
You
You want to be the one to move to adjourn, John?
I will. A motion to adjourn.
Second.
Fritz, seconds. Roll call. John?
Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Nat?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Judith? Okay, good night.
Thank you all. Good night.
Yeah.
Bye.